Since I hit 500k subs, I asked everyone to send me some questions for an updated Q&A. Now I'm really sorry I can't get to everyone's questions because you guys asked me way more than I expected. I've gotten a lot of questions about how I do my makeup and my hair, so I'm just gonna let past Olivia answer that one.
I just showered today, so I put a hair curler in my bangs after my hair was wet. But on days that I don't wet my hair, I just take this bottle of water and then I just spray my bangs and then I just put this in and curl it up. Then in terms of like the waves in my hair, it's kind of natural. After my hair gets wet, it kind of gets wavy by itself. But what I like to do is scrunch it up a lot. And then I also take this salt spray here, and then I just spray it into my hair. And then I scrunch after I spray it as well. The salt spray kind of emphasizes the texture in your hair so that it makes the like waves really stand out. Okay, now for the makeup, I already did my eyebrows because they don't really matter. I have bangs anyway that basically cover them. Plus I'm really bad at it. They're always uneven and they look different every day, I swear. We'll just skip over that. Also warning, I am no makeup guru, so a lot of the techniques I use are probably wrong. For starters, I don't have a base routine. Like, I don't wear foundation, BB cream, CC cream, concealer, any of that stuff. I'm just too lazy. I feel like if my skin is good enough, which I definitely think it is, I don't want to go through the trouble of just like adding more product onto it. I just move on straight to contour after. I just use this contour palette right here, and then I just take the darkest shade right here and I just tap, and then I go like, yeah, anyways, I take it and I just go like around here, and then I just go up along the face, go wherever around the outsides of my face basically. Put a little bit at the bottom of my chin and then just smooth it down my neck. Then I just use that same color to contour my nose. So I just take this little brush and I just go at the bottom here. Then I'll go up the sides here. Go inside my eye. Not inside my eye. Go inside, what is this area called? Eye socket. Then I use another brush and I take this white here, the highlight, and I just put it along the middle of my nose bridge. And on the tip of my nose. Now here's the part I think most people want to know about, which is the eye makeup. I have this eyeshadow palette here from ColourPop, and then I just take this color here. Don't mind the missing ones, that's from when I dropped it. I take this shade, oh my god. I take this shade right here. I take that shade and then I just go in the outer corner of my eye. And I go underneath my eye here as well. And I just blend outwards. I use the NYX Epic Ink Liner, and honestly I don't like it that much. The formula got very runny, but I'm too lazy to try other brands, so I just keep using it. Okay, so what I do is I go from under my eye line here. I try to follow the natural shape of my eye, but usually it ends up being more curved upwards than I expected. Okay, we'll roll with that. Do the other eye. Oh god, it's so runny. And that is especially not good for people like me whose eyelids are very hooded. See how they cover the top of my eye line? So it smudges very easily. And as usual, it is uneven. So here comes where I spend most of my time, which is literally just fixing my eyeliner until it's even. So next, I take the eyeshadow palette again. I take this very thin flat brush and then I just dip it in this black color right here, and I go inside to finish lining my liner. I like using some eyeshadow here to give it a more smoky look. Then I also put it under my eyes here. Then I take the Hair Wing Make liquid liner in a brown shade. I really like this eyeliner because the tip is so thin and it's not runny at all. Then I use this to just trace the insides here, and then also outside underneath my eye here and here. The lighting from where I set the camera up is really bad, so I just wanted to lift the camera up so you could see better. But basically the outside here is a bit thicker, and then at the very end it's the thinnest, so it goes from like thick to thin. Then I take a tiny brush, and then I take this like glittery color here, and then I just put it on my inner corners. And then I just tap it out. Here's a better look at the eyeliner. Last step is blush, which again, I just use my eyeshadow palette most of the time, and I'll take a combination of this color and then this color down here. Or sometimes I will also use this Quo cream blush here. But today I just feel like using eyeshadow. Dab a little bit on my brush and I go like this. I like to place just a little bit under my nose as well. Then I just like to add a little bit of extra highlighter onto my nose bridge here. I think the brand was like Mimi. I'm Mimi. Blend, blend, blend. Now time for setting spray, which I just used this e.l.f. one. I'm almost out, as you can hear. And I just spray this everywhere. Now, if I'm feeling extra fancy, which I am today, I will put on some false lashes. And I really like these ones by ABG Lashwear. This one is in Witty. This is not sponsored, by the way. I wish it were because the international shipping is expensive. But lashes for my eyes are really hard to find because not only are they monolids, which means there's only one lid. As you can see, I don't have a crease, but they're also hooded. Because it's hooded like that, if the band is too thin, then the lashes will just droop down. Also, if the actual lashes aren't curled enough, then they also won't really show up. I don't know what they did, but these ones work pretty well for me. And then in terms of lip product, I like to use this Glasting Water Tint by Roman in the shade Vintage Ocean. And then I think today I'm gonna use NYX Butter Gloss in the shade Brownie Dip to kind of go on the outlines. And then I just usually use my finger to blend it out. Now I put this darker shade only on the outside. Doing makeup in a camera is so hard. I'm never doing this again.
And in case any of you wanted to know the hair dye that I used before I became a redhead, here it is. I personally thought this comment under my Instagram post was really funny. Looks more and more woke physically. Blue hair coming. Actually, Dewa_FR, I'm planning to dye my hair black after this, so... Do you think you'd ever start a podcast? I'd love to see more unscripted content. I have thought about starting a podcast, but I just don't have the time to take on like another whole project. YouTube already takes up a lot of time for me because I also have school to do, and I'm probably gonna take on a job as well. I do have a goal on Patreon where if I do reach it, I'll upload all of my videos into podcast format on there, but in terms of like completely new content, I'm not sure if I have the time to do that. Why oliSUNvia? I literally had a breakdown reading it. My first name is Olivia. My last name is Sun. Oli, Via, Sun goes in the middle. oliSUNvia. Out of all the content you've made, what's been your personal favorite video that you've worked on and why? In terms of editing and how the overall video flows, I would have to say it's my video on love. In terms of like content and research, it would be this self-fetishization of East Asia. I'm planning to start learning philosophy, so can I ask for more book recs? I think a lot of stuff written by ancient Greek philosophers is a good place to start because I find that they're not like super difficult to understand. For example, when Plato writes in like a Socratic dialogue, I feel like that's a good introduction to a type of like philosophical reasoning. I'm pretty sure I recommended this before, but The Trial and Death of Socrates is pretty short but interesting. It's about like justice and legal philosophy. Meditations by Marcus Aurelius is a staple Stoicism book, and it has really good pullable quotes that you can put as a poster on your wall and look really smart. The Myth of Sisyphus by Albert Camus is something a lot of people enjoy. It's not long, and I think it's really relevant to a lot of young people nowadays. And this is probably an unpopular recommendation. I'm not recommending it because it's like the best philosophical arguments I've ever seen, but I did enjoy the writing in it. Boethius' Consolation of Philosophy. What made you get into this type of content creation? It's in part from my interest in philosophy, obviously, but in terms of philosophy video content specifically, I really got inspired by people like ContraPoints and PhilosophyTube. Why do you dislike corporate law? No hate to the people who do enjoy corporate law or who work in corporate law. Well, okay. Some hate to the people who work in corporate law and are evil and greedy, which is part of why I dislike it. I've heard a lot of stories from people who have siblings that work in corporate law or family members who work there, and it just kind of turns you into an asshole. At least it tends to, because so much of it is about protecting like businesses against individuals who probably need the protection more than that, and it's just very like money profit oriented. Like, corporate law is the most lucrative field of law that you could go into, which is why so many people go into it, but they're going into it for the money, and I just don't want to be driven by that. Also, aside from like the ethics and the money, I'm just not interested in it. I don't know, business just doesn't really interest me. If you had to marry one fictional character, but divorce is not an option, who? I'm gonna travel way back in time here and return to grade 6 Olivia, who was obsessed with like that whole multi-fandom of books. The Hunger Games, Divergent, Fault in Our Stars, Maze Runner, Mortal Instruments, and I was head over heels for Finnick Odair, and honestly, he's still a very good man, so maybe him.
What about you, girl on fire? Any secrets worth my time?
Or maybe Jem from the Infernal Devices. I loved Will in that series as well, but Jem, I don't know if it's just because he was like the only East Asian character represented in the books I read, but he held a special place in my heart. Have you ever struggled with fully embracing your cultural background? Yeah, I talked about this in my How the Asian Model Minority Perpetuates Anti-Blackness video, and I think also in my self-fetishization of East Asia video, but I have been embarrassed of my Chinese culture when I was younger in ways that kind of make me sad to think about. Food was a big one. In school, I hated bringing like my Chinese lunch to school because I'd always have to carry it in like thermoses, and I thought that was so uncool compared to like other people's cold sandwiches or like raw vegetables and salad in those like plastic containers. And honestly, my food must have tasted so much better, but I was just embarrassed by having to carry like warm food in a thermos. And for what? Also, language. Chinese school was like the bane of my existence when I was younger. I mean, for one thing, it's school, like it's another class that I had to go to, so obviously it wasn't like a fun thing, but also I was just like, oh, why do I have to learn Chinese? I know English. When am I ever gonna use Chinese? Like, English is the cool language. Even when I grew older and I knew that Mandarin is and is going to be such a popular language, I still felt cringe and awkward speaking in Mandarin. And I think part of it is just like the whole negative stereotype around FOBs, like fresh off the boat immigrants or international students who only speak Chinese and only hang out with Chinese people, and I didn't want to be associated with them. I wanted people to know that I am Western enough. Wearing Chinese New Year clothing to school was also a very embarrassing experience for me. It's sad to think about. I wish it was different, and I wish I had reacted differently too. Where do you shop for your clothes? Your style is so good. Thank you! That is the best compliment ever. Most of my clothes are from like Depop, Vinted, or thrifted. I really try my best to buy secondhand just so I'm not contributing more to like fast fashion or just to like fashion waste in general. And by the way, this is not hate at all to people who buy new clothes from stores. It's just like my personal choice for myself. For example, this I got from Depop, and then a lot of my jewelry is either my mom's old stuff or from small businesses on Depop and Instagram. For example, this necklace is from Intrinsic Shop, and these earrings, I can't remember the shop name now, but it was also from Depop. Do people judge you by your appearance? I often am judged and misjudged for my appearance/demeanor and was wondering if you have any thoughts on this topic or any similar experiences. Yep, I get these comments a lot, and honestly they hurt the most. If people say I'm dumb and stuff, like okay, at least they're talking about the actual content that I'm creating. But when I see things like, oh, she looks weird so I'm not gonna watch her, or I know she's annoying just by looking at her, or people commenting about how I'm a typical woke girl because I have dyed hair and I wear makeup, or when other content creators start to rate my appearance on their live stream as if that has something to do with what I'm saying. Yeah, it gets on my nerves. And that's why I will continue to make these videos looking like this. I will continue to dedicate like posts to fashion because caring about fashion, caring about beauty can go hand in hand with caring about like philosophy and intellectual stuff. And hearing things like I look weird or I look annoying is honestly not fun because they never specify what it is that makes me look weird or makes me look annoying. So I'm left to think and overanalyze myself. Like, oh, is it my eyes? Is it my hair? Is it my posture? Like, what is it about me that makes them think I am that way? These are all very deep questions, Lamau. Here's mine. If you could be any animal, what would you be? Don't be so hard on yourself. This is clearly a very deep question because it's talking about like personal identity and the mind-body dualism problem and like capitalism, probably. I would be a cat because cats just can sleep all day and then wake up and get fed and be loved, and then they can just walk anywhere they want. They always land on their feet. They're so adorable. Are you single? And if so, how many full Thanksgiving hams do you think you could eat at gunpoint? Interesting question. But no, I'm not single, so I guess I don't have to answer it. Love your vids and thinking of starting a YouTube channel. Any advice/tips? I'm never really sure how to answer these questions I get about how to like start a YouTube channel and make it successful because girl, I don't know how I did it either. All of my videos that got a lot of attention in the beginning only got a lot of views like 1 or 2 months after I uploaded them. So I don't really know like what the algorithm did, but like thanks. In terms of just like personal goals and like feeling personally fulfilled though, I'd say just like make videos that you're proud of. If you saw someone else make that video, would you enjoy it and think that it was a good video? In terms of like formatting your thumbnail and description box and stuff like that, I'd say just go look at other creators who are making the type of videos you want to make and kind of like copy what they're doing. For example, I put like a bunch of tags at the bottom of my description box because I saw other people do it. I actually don't know if it does anything useful or not, but do you ever feel pressure or insecurity over your writing, and how do you overcome it? I definitely feel pressures and insecurities about my writing, but I think that just comes as you get bigger and bigger on the platform, especially if I watch someone else's really good video essay and I start to think like, damn, I wish mine was as good as that. Also, I don't want to like say anything wrong and I don't want to get anything wrong because people can be kind of brutal and pick things a lot online. So yeah, it definitely can be scary, especially when you see that the numbers don't do so well and you're like, people didn't seem to like this one. But I just try to remind myself that not every topic is equally popular and not every effort that I put into my work is going to be equally successful as well. Can you explain the videos I no longer like playlist? I mean, it's a playlist that has videos I no longer like. I put videos in that playlist that I either really dislike the editing of, or, and this is for the most of them, I dislike the content in it. I'll take this video of mine as an example. So I put that video in there, even though it's like one of my popular videos, because I was not satisfied with the research I did in it at all, and I really hate how much of the video the sponsorship took up. Now, I do forgive myself for this video because I was like going through it when I wrote that script and I filmed it, so I wasn't really in the proper mindset to be able to just like focus on research for a long time. And also, that was my first sponsorship ever, so I had no experience with that kind of thing yet, and I was also pretty small back then, so you can't really get the best terms with like companies. So I also kind of like understand myself on that part, but it still doesn't make it a good video. I just think the concept of the video was really good and I could have done like so much with it, but I really just made a short 12-minute video where like 3 or 4 minutes of it is a sponsorship. Have you ever had to deal with self-hatred, and if so, how did you cope with it? I hated myself a lot, and I hated myself for a long time. A lot of it came from insecurities about my appearance. I had a lot of acne in middle school. I hated my small eyes. I hated my monolids. I hated the fact that I practically had no eyebrows. Aside from appearance, I also just never felt like I was smart enough, and a lot of my self-worth rested on whether I was smart or not. So anytime I got like a grade that I wasn't satisfied with, or anytime really I wasn't the best, I just felt like I was stupid. Like I had really bad catastrophic thinking. If I wasn't the best, then I must have been worthless. And so one way that I coped with it was writing those diary entries that I showed in my The Desire to Be Sad video. As cringe as those diary entries are to read back, they were one way of letting myself like express my thoughts, but not worry about having other people read it or feeling like a burden to other people. And honestly, another big thing I think was just having other people in your life who make you feel cared about and who you can like spend time with. My self-hatred was at its worst when I felt like I had no friends, especially when a lot of my friends kind of like left me. But when I found new friends again, it really did like help, because finally I had people who I trusted and who seemed to at least want to spend some time with me. And you know, as much discourse as there is on parasocial relationships and how damaging they can be, those parasocial relationships can sometimes be really helpful for people who are going through it. Being a big fan of bands when I was younger and feeling as though like I had this connection to them was actually a way that like got my mind off of thinking about how much I hated myself and how much I didn't like my life. It was something that I could care about and put in like effort into. Parasocial relationships is like a topic that I personally have opinions about. Maybe I'll make a video on that like one day, I don't know. Do you like sanrio? Sanrio? I'm not really sure how to pronounce that. If so, who is your fave character? I don't really know if I've heard of sanrio before. Yeah, I think I'll ask my roommate because I don't really know what this is. Maybe she'll know. Hey Vivian, do you know what sanrio is? No? Oh, okay. I guess she doesn't know what it is either. Do you think it's completely okay to hold back opinions on social issues and still be able to live your life as if the problems do not interfere with yourself? Or are there consequences of keeping to yourself? Is there moderation? I listened to a podcast episode from Philosophize This that actually I feel like is relevant to this question. I feel really bad because I can't remember which philosopher Stephen West was talking about now, but this philosopher talks about how we are creations of our circumstance to the point where we are our circumstance. circumstance. Our gender, our language, our social environment, our monetary situation, all of these things that create the circumstances we're born into and that we live in is really what shapes us as a person. And so because of that, he says that you can never really understand yourself if you also don't understand your circumstances. You know, no one's forcing you to have to be an activist and stuff, but if you don't learn about the circumstances you're in, about the world, about how the way the world is and society is, then you also aren't learning about yourself. And so yeah, of course there's moderation, right? Like, you don't have to be constantly talking about social issues and fighting for justice like every second in every single environment you're in. But I also don't think it's okay to just be completely cut off from any education in those areas. I think the most important thing is just to care and to be open. People are really busy nowadays, so I'm not expecting everyone to just sit down and read news article after news article, research paper after research paper. But so long as you care, then you can listen to people who do dedicate their time to that. How many people have you killed? What was your college experience like? Did you go into it wanting to do one thing, then like figure out that something else was totally more your style? Well, I can't really fully answer this question because I'm still in college, but I actually went in wanting to do philosophy and I'm still committed to that. I went in planning to go into law school and I am still committed to that. College in first year was not that great because it was COVID, so I had everything online. But second year, when I finally got to go in person, was pretty good. Don't get me wrong, it was really busy, there were courses I hated, but I met lots of good people. And living on my own has really like taught me a new type of independence. How is it like to be noticed by other content creators? It's honestly the coolest thing ever to have people that you've been watching for like months or even years, and then to see them follow you or subscribe to you or like leave a comment. It's a very cool experience. I feel so grateful for it. I think one of the first two content creators to ever follow me on my socials was Alice and Noah. Like, I remember when Alice followed me and I got the notification, I was like, oh, no way. And then one time Noah replied to a story of mine on Instagram and I was like, oh my god, wait, you follow me? Do you remember your dreams? Yeah, I'm actually a huge dreamer. I tend to have like multiple dreams every night and they're always like pretty wild and vivid. I wish we knew more about dreams and just how like the unconscious mind works in general, because I would love to know if dreams have meaning or not, and if they do have meaning, what do mine mean when I go to a summer camp and everyone there is superheroes? And like sometimes there are people I know in real life, but other times they transform into like animals, and then I go to Africa for like 10 years because I've been a victim of human trafficking and I'm writing like love letters home, just like wondering when I can return. Yeah, what does that mean? Carl Jung, hit me up. What are some of your philosophical/psychological insights in regards to the highly controversial pineapple on pizza paradox? Yes. This question is not one for beginners in philosophy. It's very advanced. Well, see, philosophically speaking, the argument that pineapple doesn't belong on pizza is not like super strong, because think about it, people still debate over whether tomatoes are a fruit or a vegetable. But guess what? Tomato is an absolute staple base on pizza. You can't have pizza without tomato sauce, and people are perfectly fine with sliced tomatoes on pizza. Pineapple is fruit. Sure, why not let it have its time on the pizza? Psychologically, what this paradox shows is just how Italians are so offended by the fact that like when people say Mamma Mia, we think of the movie first now instead of their culture. It's really just a defense mechanism of repression and self-projection onto other people. Does the rapid growth of your YouTube channel affect you negatively in any way? Overall, it's been pretty positive. I think the only negative thing that really comes out of it is just more opportunity for people to hate on you, but that's inevitable. It's not really like specific to me. I mean, it's also made YouTube like more stressful than it was in the very beginning when I had like no subscribers and no one cared about me, because then, you know, you start to think about like, oh, will people like this? Will people unsubscribe? Will people suddenly hate me because I disagreed with them in this topic? But usually I don't think about the negatives that much, and it's been pretty good. I'm super grateful for all the growth. Like 500k subs, That is literally crazy to me. How did I get here? Do you eat marshmallows? Not really by themselves, but if they are in s'mores, I will be eating that. Favorite film? It's not going to be an independent indie film, unfortunately, but I think my favorite film might be Parasite. The cinematography was just amazing, and I just left it feeling so distraught inside. Yeah, it was just amazing. I love that movie. Have you watched The Office? If so, how did you feel about it? I'm actually watching it right now. I am on season 7, and I really like it. Unpopular opinion, I actually liked season 1 better than season 2. I know people always say that like season 1 is the British like knockoff and season 2 is where it really picks up, but I actually liked season 1's more dark, pessimistic tone. Like the fact that a lot of the episodes ended on a bad note, like there was no resolution or happy ending, I thought actually made it more funny in a way. What's your way of dealing with people who refuse to open their minds and remain ignorant or see you as someone of less value? Do you ignore them or try to make them see things they don't notice? Okay, see, for me, the key phrase in this question was the fact that they see you as someone of less value. See, if this was a person who was pretty adamant on an opinion they had, but they were still being like civil and respectful and you could tell that they had good intentions, then yeah, you know, I'll talk to them. I'll try to like ask questions and give my opinions, but also listen attentively. But if they're seeing me as someone of less value, then I'd probably just, I wouldn't try. What K-pop groups do you listen to? I listen to BTS, TXT, ENHYPEN, Red Velvet, Sum 17. The thing is, I've become less and less interested in K-pop, especially in the 4th generation. So many groups are now debuting so young and so early that so many of them are like really young minors, like New Jeans, and then they're singing about like their cookie. Two, I saw like this one video that explained a lot about how K-pop is really becoming just more and more visual oriented. These competitions and these like Produce 101 shows are just picking people who look the best and maybe like also dance the best, but their vocals are not strong at all. And the people who have the best vocals are always being eliminated first. But I do still listen to K-pop, and I have a lot of songs saved, especially from when I used to listen to it a lot in high school. What's your zodiac sign? Virgo. How has the pandemic impacted your life? If none of it ever happened and 2020 to 2022 were perfectly normal years, would your life or life plans be any different than they are now? The biggest difference that I can think of is probably that I wouldn't have done YouTube. I only uploaded videos because there weren't any internships or jobs or volunteer opportunities because we were all stuck at home. So I was like, oh, let me try to be productive. Let me make video essays. Okay, that is the end of the Q&A. I know there were lots more questions, but maybe I'll answer them in the future sometime. Really appreciate everyone who sent me questions and who cared enough to want to know about me. Special thanks to my Patreons who will get the full version of this Q&A. Ethan, Alex M, Zesty Sauce, Nova, Solomon Khan, Jacob McMillan, Soladosi Tenia, Lorenzo Villegas, Jeannie Lee, GW, LEE, Jonathan Von Schroeder, Diego, Murky Morals, OHB, Sabrina Fior, Drew Singal, Embarajas, Harry Socks, Aiden Bozeman, Bleach, Henry Adams, Benjamin Walsh, June, Robert Castro, Kian Nahad, Josh Hunt, Alan Cisneros, C-Dub, Laura Clark, Caleb Humble, Foreign Man in a Foreign Land, Davis Tran, Spaceman No Helmet, Deep Toe Chatterjee, Jake for Hire, Fickle, Michelle Jia, and Jesse. Thank you so much for watching. Let's keep talking, and I hope to hear from you soon. Bye!